G'day and welcome back to another episode of Pommy and Oz. I hope we're all doing really well. If you are new around here, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. We just hit 820, so if we can try and get to 900 in a matter of weeks, that'd be awesome. We're trying to go to the road to 1,000, so your support and your love is muchly appreciated. And we're going to do the review of the Carlton game. So Carlton, we came off the back of an 11-point win in a real hard-fought and tough encounter against the Gold Coast Suns. And it probably wasn't the most majestical performance, and it's not one that was one spectacle, really. It's not one for the partial observer. But I think you've got to take into and judge it for what it is. And if you look at that game, and I personally thought that is a game, particularly in the fourth quarter, I've seen this side lose many times. I've seen them lose more than they've won from that point of view. And I was very impressed with the fact they got the job done. It wasn't the smartest performance at times. It took us a while to get going. It felt like in the first half, we hadn't quite adapted to the conditions. We tried to play that heavy game style that Teague does, fluid movement, and it doesn't quite work. And we have noticed this year with Teague, he's definitely starting to up the handball. And it was real noticeable in the second half. The handball died. We looked for the meters gain, looked for the gain in the territory. And it was a good adaptation in a game. I was impressed as well with the tackle pressure. The tackle pressure was on point. Carlton, again, it was our highest tackles recorded this year, 62 tackles. Really looked to up the ante in that department. And all in all, it's a lesson. It's a lesson. It's a character-building win as well. I thought we controlled the footy when we did have it, 44% for the match. So that was pretty telling in the end. It was a tough game, and it was real noticeable in the fourth as well that some of our leaders stepped up, some of our senior players, Saad with them wonderful tackles as well. And for me, moving forward, they're the kind of things that get you going. You remember 2017, Richmond beat Essendon in kind of a slugfest. It had that vibes about it. It was a game that Richmond always lost, them tight encounters. This was our version, and for me, I'm happy. 61% efficiency inside 50 as well is a really telling stat for Carlton. So let's have a look at the players and let's just see what we thought about them. And we'll go in alphabetical order as we always do. And we'll look at none other than Eddie Betts. Now Eddie Betts' game, 12 disposals, 5 marks, 2 tackles, 1 goal, 3. And I liked Eddie's game, and you can see by the heat map there, it's a very Eddie heat map, isn't it? He had that wonderful little moment of genius as we do. I think what was really telling for me was his 8 scorer involvements and 17 pressure acts. Really set the tone. He makes it awkward. And whether you like it or not, for me, Eddie Betts, when he does that, that keeps him in the side. What I'm looking for in our over 30s is that kind of game. That should be his par. When we have these over 30s in, we should know what we get with them. And I like Betts' game. Something always seems to happen with him. And he's got that aura about him. His leads as well, so important, because his decoy leads, they free up players, they free up Mackay. It helps Carlton out, and that is what we've got to do. Moving forward, Eddie Betts is very key to what that is. And whether that is, we have this conversation towards the end of the year, is that a Durden, is that a Fish, is that whoever you want to throw in there, a Honey, an Owies, someone has to take his place at some point. That is a no-brainer. But for now, that is where we're looking for from Eddie, and we're looking for someone in the VFL to really say, is that enough? But it was a very solid game from Eddie, and I was happy with his output. Up next is Levi Casboult, and we're talking about decoy leads. And 6 disposals, 3 marks, 2 tackles, and a goal. You look at his heat map there, it kind of like, for me, there is the issue as well. There's not enough movement from him. He moves very gingerly, just the 2 score involvements as well. You're looking at players that play that second tall, your Jack Darlings, players of that ilk. They have an output. They have a reason to be there. Now, this game, it's okay saying, okay, he's the second ruck. But if you're the second ruck, you've got to remember his primary role is the second forward. And for me at the moment, Levi, I don't know if he's not fit or if he's just totally out of form, but he's not clicking. And based on the fact that, again, McGovern's kicked goals, I would be saying that McGovern has to come in next week for Levi. And if that means someone else plays in the ruck, so be it. It's going to have to, because to me, I don't think that output for me warrants a selection next week on the basis that you can tap ruck for a little bit. Perna did do the majority of the ruck work, and he can do that. If you look at the way that Perna plays, he's not the most mobile and athletic ruckman. He's not running up and down the ground. It's safe, and I'm quite happy with Harry to take the forward stoppages, and then Jones or someone take the back stoppages, which has happened this year. For me, it wasn't the greatest game, and I'm looking for Levi to impact. I'm looking for him to cause a problem, because the amount of times that we see the dual defenders on Harry is a joke, and that's because there isn't the key forward threatening. McGovern at least is going to get his hands on the pill, and you know if McGovern has a set shot goal, he's going to score. And there is another issue with Casboult. His kicking's just not quite on it. Did get the poultry goal, but for me, it's not enough. It's not enough, and I'm looking at his off-ball work, and for me at the moment, it's not at the level that I want, personally. Matty Cotter's, Cottrell, loved his game. 19 disposals, 5 marks, 3 tackles, 1 goal. And you look at his heat map there, and it's amazing when you look at Cottrell what having an actual wingman that is a wingman play on the wing does for the game. The system, 74% efficiency from his 19 touches, 15 pressure acts as well, and 330 metres gained. And that is so key when you're playing in the slippery conditions as well. It's all about your metres gained, and we know we talk about metres gained a lot. It's very king in that kind of condition. I loved his game. I love everything he's about. He kind of gives you something that few players can without that affinity to the club. He's a workhorse, and for me, he would be in my top 5 names. If I was making a 22 next week, it'd be top 5 names that I come to. I love what he brings, his width, his effort, and you look at his way he's getting his touches as well. It's spread throughout the ground. He really does work both ways. 2-way running wingers are as rare as rocking horse poo in this league, but they're so valuable. And he had a great game, and I really enjoy what he brings. Up next is Patrick Crips. 21 touches for our mercurial captain, 2 marks, 9 tackles, 1 goal, 1. And for me, something that's very understated about Cripper is he was under a lot of pressure. Hugh Greenwood did a number on him, Tuck Miller went to him. He had a tough game, but what I loved about Cripper is he found a way to impact, even though he had the 21 touches. 7 score involvements, 17 pressure acts, 319 metres gained. And them 7 score involvements for me are very key to what Cripper did that game. Is he looks to impact. He really is starting to lead by example, and that is a great sight for a young captain. Working really hard as well, both ends of the ground as well, which I think is really king for Cripper as well. He was, again, running hard, up and down the ground. I loved his ideas as well, going in the forward line, standing off the contest as well to make Hugh Greenwood come out of it. That's smart, that's high footy IQ, that. And for me, he did really well, and I think that part of the reason we won that game was because of Cripper's nous. He took away players from the contest, as well as impacting the contest himself. He stood a lot more away from the contest this week, and for me, it's clever football. Another guy in, for me, best on ground, and I think most of you will agree with me, and that is young Ed Kerner. Tell you what, he gets better with age. He's only 32 touches, 5 tackles, 5 marks, and the goal. 75% disposal efficiency, 7 score involvements, 8 clearances, 17 pressure acts, but the key for me, 436 metres gained. And Ed was just Ed, wasn't he? And I think part of it was because Cripper was tied up, and we just talked about Cripper stood off the contest. Ed did what Ed does, and he dominated in them clinches. He was really key to us, and Ed just, when he's like that, that's what Ed does best. None of this getting him on the wing malarkey or playing him half forward. He's an on-baller, and he's good at what he does. And for me, he excites you the way he does. He does all that hard work. Him and Cripper were very keen as well of getting the ball on the outside, and he's a very smart footballer, very crafty, does what he does, exactly what it says on the tin. Big fan of him, and he was a great game from him. Sam Doherty up next, 28 touches for our other captain. He was good, 2 tackles, 8 marks, 79% efficiency as well. When Doc is hitting targets, you see how our transition works. 8 intercept possessions for Doc, 5 score involvements, and a staggering 516 metres gained. He's an absolute king at what he does, and when he's doing this, he's the best in the league for me. And you see it there, look, that all in the back half of the ground, and he looks to impact. He's in the hot zone as well. He really plays loose. He attacks the ball hard, and he's just a key cog. And that was a great return to form game. He got a lot of easy ball as well, but he also worked hard to get the tough stuff as well. And that moving forward is poignant for Carlton going in to the deeper end of the season, particularly the pointy end of the season. Him doing stuff like that makes it a lot easier. Up next is a personal favourite of mine, Paddy Dow. And here we can see with what Paddy Dow is doing at the moment. And this has been since round 2, spending a lot of time on the wing and a lot of time in half forward. 8 touches, 1 mark, 3 tackles. And you want to give your young players a go, right? Don't get me wrong. But when I look at 1 score involvement and 23 metres gained, it's not great. It's not great. And metres gained is so king when you're playing these positions, particularly on the wing. He spent 70% of the time there. It should be a lot higher. The ball needs to be going forward, particularly in this weather. It was a chance to throw the ball on the boot a little bit and just gain territory. And for me, he didn't do that. And I love Dow. I really do. But you can't keep giving it chances. So for me, moving forward now, there's players there, I think, now that really, we need a bit of VFL time for him. And if we are going to have a wing, it has to be someone that is a winger or someone has talent that can play the wing. For me, Dow is breakage from stoppage. It's short bursts. You can't do that on the wing. It's not short bursts. It's a longevity game. It's high endurance. It's high energy. That's why Cotter does well there. And for me, wrong position. And I don't like to see it. I just feel like we're just ploughing time into a dead horse if we're playing him in that role. He's either on the ball or he's not. And it's as simple as that for me. But them numbers aren't good enough. So it's back to the VFL for me personally, for Paddy. I aren't giving him up on him yet, but have a bit of selection integrity. There's players in there in the VFL at the moment doing very well, and they deserve chances, and we have the depth to fling people in a rotation, a la like all the other clubs are doing. So for me, if Dow's not getting the on-ball rotation, what is the point? Up next is Fogie, and I really enjoyed Fogie's game. 11 disposals, 1 mark, 8 tackles. This guy goes hunting for the ball, and you can see very similar heat map, opposite end of Dow. And when we look at his, and the reasons that we're going to say that Fogie did well and Dow didn't, is quite simple really. Just have a look at what he did. 282 metres gained is hugely important for me. He got the ball moving forward. 8 tackles, again, very important. He put the pressure on. But the big one, 23 pressure acts from Fogie. And there it is. He's hard, he's mongrel, he's hard at it. Whether he's on the ball playing across half forward or on the wing, he's hunting for the ball. He goes people hunting. And I love it. He's very awkward to play against. Teague says we've got to be difficult to play against. Players like that make you difficult to play against. And I really enjoyed his game. And he's someone that is really exciting me. There's something about him. And I like what I see. Mickey Gibbons, another guy that had a good game. 19 touches, 2 marks, 3 tackles, 0.2. 0 goals, 2 behind. And again, he played a lot on the half-forward line. He slotted in the wing and he went on the ball in the 4th. And he's a dynamo. 7 inside 50s, 382 metres gained as well. Very clever footballer. And you play him in the midfield, you see what happens. He would be someone that I would look at, maybe that Dow position. Slotting him on the wing. He has the engine for it. He does work hard. You can slot him in the ball. And when he's got his ball in his hand, he does something with it. He's very crafty. He's a very clever footballer. And for me, he's very underrated for what he does. Liam Jones. Again, this guy is someone that is really impressing me. And he's getting better. He's like a fine wine. 21 touches, 11 marks, no tackles, just the 1 behind. Set shot wasn't great, was it? He forgot he was a forward. But 13 intercept possessions, 472 metres gained. It's no surprise that in the AFL at the moment, Weitering and Jones as a combo are ranked top 5 for what they do as a combo. And they are brilliant. And Jones is really finding his mark now. Weitering is locking down that lockdown role. When Plowman's locking down his man, it gives Jones the freedom to go and fly. And he's so integral. He can change defence into attack in moments. And he is so vital. And if we're going to be a top 8 side, we're going to win flags. Liam Jones is going to have to be a part of that. And what he does can change defence into attack. Is there anyone coming through that can do his job? Not at the moment, but for me, there's a good 3-4 years left on Liam Jones, and he is phenomenal at what he does. Another guy we're going to talk about is Mackay Kennedy, and he only played 10 minutes, so let that sink in. 10 minutes of game time. 4 disposals, 2 marks, 1 tackle, and he was in it when the pressure was on, wasn't he? 167 metres gained for 10 minutes, 3 pressure acts. It was a great performance. It was a stellar performance, and again, I asked the question, how is he not in? How is he not in the side? He had a little bit of a turn of pace. You can see he's been working on his speed. I really like him, and for me, he'd be one guy that I'd be looking at for Dow and creating that rotation elsewhere. You can see there as well in his heat map, all around the ground as well. Does the team thing, and I love what Kennedy brings. I love what Kennedy brings. Harry Mackay, 9 touches, 4 marks, 2 tackles, 2 goals, 2. Harry doing Harry things, you know. It was a tough game for a forward, but 6 score involvements. He really is starting to add that to his game. He's bringing players in, and 7 pressure acts for a key forward is very high. He does the team thing, and he really occupies and really starting to control that forward half. And for me, that is super important moving forward. He really gives you something. If he's not impacting the scoreboard, he impacts elsewhere as well. Real hard worker. And I'm really enjoying Harry's game. I really am enjoying what he's bringing and what he's about. And he's really getting better and better. And for me, this could be a breakout year we're seeing here, because we haven't had a key forward this devastating since Fev, have we? And he's really showing it, because that was a tough condition for a key forward, and he owned it well. Mark Murphy returned to form for him. Again, playing across that half-forward wing-slight role. 17 touches, 5 marks, 2 tackles, 2 goals, 1. It's class, isn't it? It's class, and in them kind of situations you need class and you need your experience. He led one of them tackles in the 4th. It was a good tackle, and he really did try hard. 317 metres gained. He really showed what expertise and what maturity does in clutch situations. I really enjoyed his game, and Mark Murphy, long may it continue, because that is why he's there. A little bit of touch of class, and he's someone again that is setting the standard for these young players to really try and get into this team, because if you can get better than Mark, we're looking in a real tasty position. Jackie Nunes, my favourite player, really is. 22 touches, 5 marks, no tackles, 0-3, but look at that heat map. Everywhere. Hard-working, industrious, 7 score involvements, 489 metres gained, and we talk about being tough to play against. That is what you're on about. He is tough. He's everywhere. Might have not got the tackle numbers, yes, but he was everywhere. He's always offering options. Teammates can rely on him, and I really enjoyed his game this week. It was a real solid game and a real steady game, and that's what I like about Nunes. He brings you something. Luke Parks, it wasn't the greatest game from Luke Parks score-wise. 4-1% as 3 touches, 3 tackles, 1 mark. Did have that big hit on Lukosius though. He's industrious, and that kind of position that he plays at the moment isn't kind of one that's conducive for high numbers as of yet. But he locked down his man well, he stayed tight, he was activated when he needed to be, and I did enjoy his game. It's probably one of the better 3-touch games I've seen. I think he's done enough though. I think you've got to give this guy 5 games anyway. I think he had a very good game his first game. He showed the toughness and the willingness to get dirty. Probably wasn't his type of game, this one, because the ball wasn't flying in, and he's more of an intercepting player looking to rebound off that. It was a tough marking day, really, for a player. But I like what he does. He keeps trying, and for me, he's done enough to impress me. Talking about not a marking get day, SPS. This was his best game in his new position. I really enjoyed it. 23 touches, 2 marks, 10 tackles, 9 of them intercept possessions, 74% efficiency, 217 metres gained, 12 pressure acts, a 74% efficiency as well. Just that is phenomenal, and that is what he does. It's effectively having 2 docks down the back, and he was very good at what he did. Really enjoy it. The fact he can score launch, the fact that he's got real tenacious heart as well. I'm really enjoying what he's bringing. Long may it continue, because that's the kind of game that SPS needs to string together. A couple of games where he gets a few of the ball and he's starting to get that confidence going. And once he gets the confidence, we know what he can do. But I love the way he looks to attack the corridor. He hits targets. No messing around with him. Steady head as well. He can control the tempo. He's one of them players that I'm looking at tempo controlling, and he's really doing that well at the moment. Mark Perna. He didn't have much of a challenge, did he? But 56 hit-outs, 10 touches, 2 tackles, and the behind. And let's talk about him. 37 of them 56 hit-outs, that's 66%. That's classed as elite. And, okay, he wasn't up against much, but you've got to beat what's in front of you, and he did, quite comfortably. I really enjoyed his game. Is he an A-grade ruckman? No. But he gives you he gives you the output. And I think TDK coming back round 6 is going to help him out. I like Perna though. He's really steady and I trust him. There's a bit of trust factor there. He's starting to get a bit of an affinity as well with that midfield. And when you add Zach Williams into it, who is a clearance specialist, averaging just around 8 a game, he's a solid player. I think that's where you'll see the best of Pitts. Lockie Plowman, he's backed up that Collingwood game as he was 2 stellar performances. 16 touches, 5 marks, 2 tackles, no goals, but 2 scoring involvements, 3 intercept possessions, 81% efficiency, I might add. And he's locking down players, and that's what he does best. Sexton usually gets off the lease against us. He kept him at bay for the majority of the game as well. Sexton never really looked involved. Sexton started to get involved towards the end, but at that stage it was complete junk time, wasn't it? And the game was won. Like Plowman's game, and again, for me, that backline is potentially the best in the league when it's on song. Adam Saad, loving Saadi's game, and Saadi again, 21 touches, 2 marks, 2 tackles, and the behind. Starting to get forward, 81% disposal efficiency, 11 intercept possessions, 497 metres gained, and 5 score involvements. This is a Saad game. It's what Saad does. And very impressed with Saad, loving what he brings. Bit of zip, bit of run and carry. He's got it all, hasn't he, as well? He's got all the tricks in the bag. Solid player, and I really enjoyed his game. It was a return to form. Will Satterfield, he's another conundrum setters. He was on the ball again, as you can see by the heat map. Didn't do as much of that defensive wing role. 15 disposals, 1 mark, 0 tackles, 0 goals. 17 pressure acts though, I'll give him that, and 4 score involvements. He did get his hands dirty, and we've got to give him that, but the 1 clearance as well. To me, it's just, at the moment, just not quite enough. Just not quite enough at the moment for me. And it's okay, he's been chopped and changed a bit, but he would be someone I'd be looking at Stocker and saying, Stocker's disposal's better. He also has the ability to play it off both feet. He's cleaner. In my opinion, he's got higher footy IQ. And I think Stocker has that penetration as well that Setterfield doesn't quite have yet. I think Setterfield needs a game where he gets 20 or 30 touches. And, you know, going back to last year. And I think maybe the VFL might be the avenue for him. That's where the form is. And if Stocker keeps stringing these games together, and so does McGovern, you've got to bring them in if Levi and Setterfield and Dow aren't cutting the mustard. He's probably got another game in him for me. I like him. But I'd say another average game. We've got to start asking the question, who's coming through? Jack Silvani. What you see is what you get with Jesus. And it wasn't his greatest game. 6 touches, 1 mark, 2 tackles. But he's just tenacious, isn't he? 7. The 3 score involvements. There was a few pressure acts in there as well. Not as many as the usual from Set, but I loved what he brought. He really did bring it to the game. And even though he had the 7 pressure acts, he really does look to impact. It wasn't his greatest game by any means, but that tackle just sums up what Jesus did. He got there with will and heart and determination. For me, he's best 22 if he's fit. I hope he gets well, because it is a big loss, because he just brings something, doesn't he? He brings something. It's a joy to watch, and sometimes I wish I was his dad, because I just think you need to smile, Sauce. You need to smile. It's good to see. Sammy Walsh, for me, and we know I like a big call, but I think he's the best player in the comp at the moment on form. He'd be close to it. It's a big call, I know, but 24 touches, 5 marks, 7 tackles. Look at the heat map. That's a third-year player, ladies and gentlemen. 75% efficiency, 7 score involvements, 20 pressure acts, 274 metres gained. He's an absolute superstar, Sam Walsh. Absolute superstar. And he's becoming untaggable as well. We saw Hugh Greenwood went to him a bit in the third, and he's still impacted. He's a solid footballer. He's a conundrum. And he's someone that we'll be looking at really for years to come, because he is an absolute superstar. I'm running up superlatives. I'd like to see him impact the scoreboard a bit like he did last year. He's not quite getting that opportunity, but he is really bringing players in. And an absolute genius with the ball. Jacob Weitering, 21 touches, 5 marks. He's steady, isn't he? And what I love about him, 455 metres gained and 12 of them 21 touches, intercept possessions and 6 score involvements. He's brilliant at what he does. He's brilliant at what he does. And definite for me, he would be in the All-Australian conversation. He is... We talk about Moore and you talk about Harris Andrews and stuff, but Weitering is Weitering. And his bounce back ability, his ability to rebound as well. Ben King gets off him in the opening exchange. You don't see Ben King after that. It's what I love about Weiters. Never says never, never says die. Hard working and grit and determination. And we are privileged that we have a young spine of Walsh, Weitering and Mackay, and they just kill it. Every week they kill it, and it's an honour to have them. And again, long may it continue. That's the players then. For me, it was a good performance, and I'm not saying it was a great performance or a finished performance. Will I watch it again? Probably not. I've watched it 3 times now. But very important game in the scheme of things, that moving forward, we've won a game that this is a losable game. This is a game that Carlton lose 9 times out of 10, old Carlton. And if we're new Carlton, we have to learn to win these games. I was very proud of them. Port will be a bigger test. Got to rebound on that. Got to keep this pressure. Got to keep doing the smart things well. Be better conditions, obviously, because it's in Melbourne. But it'll be interesting. That's my review. Let me know what you think. And until next time, Pommy out.